All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's still Moneyline with Nancy, and my guest is here, Sam Obafemi. President Sam Obafemi Behavioral Change Academy. We're looking at EQ, IQ, and all the Qs that are involved. Welcome, Mr. Obafemi. Good to see you, Sam.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, too.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
I'm good. I'm very well, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
So
Today started quite early because over time you get to realize that when you build your emotional quotient, you pace what you do. And so today started off for me quite earlier than usual. And one of the things we try to teach in emotional intelligence is also the role of stress mastery. And so you realize,
a lot of stress.
yes, because if you are unable to govern your day will use you. And so you have to determine the pattern of your day and determine the stakes for the day. That way you're able to come to the maximum capacity that you must deliver in 24 hours. And so sometimes we try to help people understand you need to train yourself not to run on autopilot. Many times we run on autopilot.
What does autopilot mean?
Autopilot means that events determine what you do. Circumstances drive your day. And on the other hand, you should be actually able to determine what would I do per time, in what way. That's why, we used to think when they tell you work smart, people say no,
don't work hard,
hard work is the
Hard
in
work
thing.
pays.
But the thing is, I've come to find the synergy. There's a harmony of the two. You should work hard, yes, but you should work smart. As you work hard, it means you don't have to do everything, and you don't have to be involved in everything.
That's working smart.
That is working smart.
You can delegate some things.
Delegate some, automate some, think through some, prioritize, and determine which will give you the return on your immediate energy investment. Because everything we do is energy.
But is it everybody that has to work hard? If you're taking a look at, for example, what just came to my mind is the truck pushers. They are working hard. There's a physical energy. How would you tell, for example, a biro pusher to work smart, or an Okada rider in Lagos right now?
Good.
To work
Do you know
smart?
that the average barrow pusher, they all troop to a vehicle hoping to get to be called? That's not working smart. Because you need to be strategic. Everything in life is strategy. You need to determine, in fact, when you see a customer coming, you need to determine how to approach the customer before it becomes a rush. That is smart. So you don't have to spend 4 hours hustling to get one person to say, carry my payroll. And then you've not had any. And you're already tired. You've not done anything. You've not made a dime. But you need to sit down and look at, you scan what you do, which is why I like what Zig Ziglar will say. An intelligent person is someone that understands his environment. And so you need to understand what's going on around me. What should I do now? What can I create a strategy around that makes me smart to deliver the results? Because you have to be maximum per time as much as you can afford it. It's very important.
So it's a very good note we are starting on.
Yes,
you know. Very good note. Like I said at the beginning of the show, emotional intelligence. Some may begin to wonder, oh, what's Nancy talking about? But it all goes around because I think my duty and responsibility is not just to tell you perhaps how to make money and all of that. You have to have that well-being, that personal, that physical well-being. It's an all-round thing. If you take a look at billionaires in the world, they have certain traits, they have things they do. Some things don't even bother them.
Absolutely.
And all of that.
Absolutely.
I think Richard Branson was where did the Hurricane Harvey, I think, the British Virgin Islands, he was there one day, and he was just, that's, so even in the midst of a storm, how do you cope as a human being, like as a human being? Recession. So how do you, now let me come to that point, how do you achieve serenity?
In a recession.
In a recession. Economic recession, that things are very difficult, and you come to tell me, Sam, that I should calm down, this and this, when there's no money in my pocket, my children are not going to school. How do you achieve serenity in a space of craziness and madness?
I like
one
this
story
question.
one day, every day there's one story in Nigeria everybody's pursuing.
You're right.
Today is NNPC Baro and Kashuku. Tomorrow is
there's
what
always
exactly
there's
is
always
happening?
a buzz that carries everybody's energy to a particular direction, and after a while we go in a different direction. There are 4 kinds of intelligence that I like to share that talks about how to govern anything. The first is what we are used to hearing, the IQ, the intelligence quotient.
Yeah.
And, you know, basically speaking, IQ simply means I have the competence and I have the affinity for something. There's an ability you have that is innate. There is a capacity you have that is innate. And so most times when people play to their strength, it is a huge advantage.
How do you know your strength in the first place?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, to know your strength, you know, in a very simple way is to say, what would you find yourself dwelling on? What do you easily notice? What are the problems you easily see? What are the things you have? You have an uncanny way to say something about some things, provide a solution. It's like an intuitive capacity.
Solve problems too.
So there are just some things, it looks like you have grace for them. Some people wonder, like, how did you say that? How do you think through this? Sometimes you see a piece of art and you're like, damn, how did this guy come about this kind of thinking? I was at a friend's office and I saw, you know, this cover of canned drinks was used to form a human being. I was really impressed. So some people have that uncanny way.
They're using plastic bottles to build houses right now.
Big time, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So now that's IQ. But you know the good thing is, I would recommend you for any form of communication deal, for instance, because I can trust that, oh, Nancy, when it comes to communication, she's apt, she's articulate, she has the courage, she has the presence, because I can trust your IQ. IQ can be transferred, and that's what we call social intelligence. It means that if I want to be able to transfer competence, I will have to first trust that you have competence. Yes, proof that you have competence. Then I can transfer that competence. That's where referral comes in. That's how people get jobs. That's how people get businesses. That's how people grow businesses. That's how projects come in. People at the basic level, you can't get or do business if you do not have an ability, a competence, a skill. But now this is the interesting part. I have now referred you for a deal. It's your ability to understand the culture of whom you're going to see to be able to get an entrance to the person, into the person.
Yeah. How that person is, to be able to enter the person.
So most times we are not conscious that that's the breaking point.
Yes. How do I
connect
to market my product,
exactly,
to market my service?
Perfect.
Or I want to go see a man, an MD in the office. How do I get into him?
I need to understand how to raise my rapport with him. And that's where cultural intelligence plays a role, not even ER yet. Most times, we are conscious of emotional intelligence, which I'll come to define shortly. We're conscious of the fact that I know my work. I know my onions. When you call my name, in fact, in this industry, when you check me out, I'm top 10, top 3, top this. Good, no issue. But the question is, when an opportunity becomes, are you wise to understand the culture of the persons that will govern the decision? Because people have a way they do things.
And that's when people come to do things, for example, you take a look at the Nigerian state now.
Yeah.
Perhaps someone will be like, oh, he could be competent to do that job. He's competent to be a minister. But when he or she enters there, or competent to take the business, of like, we do things this way, and you can't come and change it.
And already you have raised friction. And we in behavioral science say, anything can happen in the place of rapport. Anything. If I can befriend you, I can connect with you, there's nothing we cannot do together. And that's where cultural intelligence plays a role. But having connected with you, the longevity of our connection in terms of how many years and how much we can do together is a function of emotional intelligence. And that's why if you ask, I was doing a training one day and I asked, so what's emotional intelligence? Someone says, that's giving sense to your emotions.
Giving sense to your emotions.
If you give sense to your emotions, you're being emotionally intelligent. I liked that definition. You know why? Because in the course of our friendship and our rapport and our transactions and our interchange, there will be times like this recession, we in business are finding it difficult to get customers to patronize like they used to do. It is our ability to understand their place, understand their needs, understand their pricing, understanding the priorities our services may mean to them, understanding the secondary factors that determine whether they will come to us, understanding the timing of consulting them. If you're asking them to pay heavy bills for your service around when they will pay for school fees, they will not pay attention to you. That is emotional intelligence playing a role, understanding that, oh, I want this customer to come, but I need to understand what they are going through. And then there has to be a meeting place between what I want as a business and what my customers want as a business. Now, sometimes we business owners think we do it ourselves. That in itself is a misleading factor. How many business owners have access to all the customers? Very few. Now, it means that if we begin to understand that we as businesses, the business does not talk to the customer.
It's you.
It's the persons in the business that do.
That brings me to the point of systems and people.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? So
Yes.
there's a system in place.
Yes.
It's people that make up systems.
A system cannot, no matter how automated a system is, a person is involved.
So it's strong people that make strong institutions that we're clamoring for to have in Nigeria,
Absolutely.
for example.
You
So how do
cannot
we build those kind of people
Now,
with good EQ or high EQ rather than low EQ? Because I do know there's high EQ
Yes.
and low EQ, which we'll come to later.
Now, if you want to build a system, the first thing is to understand what the system exists for. Because most times we in business think that, well, it's just about putting out a vacancy and we get people. And in 10 years, you're running in like a rat race. You have not made so much progress. You know, because we were not even trained to think long term. We were just told, go, you're passionate, go and start this thing. People will buy it.
Every day takes care of
You
itself.
get, we were not told that from the start, think of 3 years, think of 5 years, think of 10 years, think 20 years down the line. What would I want to have completed? What would I want to have delivered? What should my business be synonymous with in terms of the results? When you look at that milestone, then you walk back to say, what kind of values must I institute in my business? And whom should I recruit that is in alignment with these values? You just realize from start, it may not be easy to get them day one. It may not even be
It's
a
not
3-year
easy.
thing.
Talk to me about it.
You
It's
know,
not easy.
so, but
Yeah.
over time, because you know who fits into what you see, you will find them. You will know those that are teachable, that can be groomed.
Yes.
You know those that are obstinate or rigid, that may have to stay away. You know the kind of customers you can serve, because you can't serve every customer. You know the kind of staff that can attend to what kind of customer. These are the dynamics that determine the effective nature of emotional intelligence. Because emotional intelligence simply means that there are 3 pillars of people. First, you. You have to put yourself in the picture of the interaction. Secondly, whom you're interacting with. So if I have any need to grow my business, I need to determine who are the stakes in the business. First, my family, my staff, my customer, the owners of my business, if I'm running an equity business, and government is a factor. The neighborhood where we operate from, these are all stakes that determine what kind of different levels of rapport you must develop. And then the last entity is the society. Because if your business is not impacting on society in the long run, it's a waste of everybody's time. So these are 3 elements that must play out in emotional intelligence: the business,